Namaste Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Hite Namani.
After some months in Boston, and we hardly made any new devotees, one young man came named Peter. And Peter was very eccentric. He used to sit in the hallway at the entrance to the building, and he would like lean his back against the wall. A lot of the times he would have his legs out straight. He would read. Sometimes he would just lie down in the hallway and sleep. So we were getting quite upset because the first thing that any new person would see was Peter, slouched out in the hallway and sometimes completely asleep. So Satsvarupa Maharaj wrote Srila Prabhupada what to do. And Srila Prabhupada wrote back, "What's the matter? Can't you tolerate?" So that was the answer. And we tolerated. But we felt uneasy, but we tolerated. After some days, Peter, and he came to be known as Crazy Peter. After some days, Crazy Peter left Boston and went to New Vrindavan. And on my way from Boston to India through New York, I just happened to ask about Crazy Peter, because I just wanted to know. We were a very small family then. So the devotee said he'd gone to New Vrindavan and he was doing very well, and that he was going to be initiated. I was like quite amazed. Anyway, I lost track of Crazy Peter until about 20 years later, when I visited Los Angeles, and I saw Crazy Peter at Mangalarti. So I asked some of the devotees, that was already like 20 years, 1990 or so, Prabhupada had already left. I was surprised that he was still with us. So I asked some devotee, "Who is that?" The devotee said, "Oh, that's Kushakrata Prabhu." I said, "Kushakrata?" And he was famous because he was translating scriptures from Sanskrit into English and Bengali into English. And I thought, my God, how merciful Srila Prabhupada is, that by his mercy and compassion, Crazy Peter, who we didn't see any potential in much, had come to the stage where he was translating Vaishnava literature into English. So one quality of Srila Prabhupada was that he just intensely desired that everyone should be engaged in Krishna service and act in Krishna consciousness. And he saw the chance in everyone, and he wanted to give everyone the chance. And he was really ready to extend himself to any extent.
The quality that Prabhupada exhibited that impressed me most readily was his compassionate nature. I saw how he would look at compassionately to how he dealt with some of his disciples who had strayed, fallen away, and they come back, and he would receive them with love and compassion. We had never seen that. In fact, just to illustrate, I remember one little incident. as Prabhupada was making his way through the crowd, through the aisle, suddenly he stopped and he looked to his right, he looked across the room, the airport, he looked across, and I was on his left side, and I tried to follow his gaze, wonder, what's he looking at? And I traced it, and he was looking at one young man. I didn't realize that that young man was a devotee, was a disciple of Prabhupada. He was a young man with hair, and he had come out. He had heard from the other devotees, Prabhupada's going to be here, and he came to see him. Prabhupada stopped and looked at him, and he just stopped walking. And his look was just eyes of compassion and love. And he stretched out his hand, and he said, he did like this, motioning for him to come. And that boy came, and he walked through the line, and Prabhupada took off one of his garlands. He had many. And he put it around him, and the exchange was one of love. It was so real, you know. Prabhupada had affection, and this boy had left maybe years before, but Prabhupada was so happy to see him. And he gave him the garland, and then he continued walking. So that was a little thing, but seeing that compassion and that affection in action, that was touching, you know. So that's something he always, you know, we read that the Vaishnavas are, you know, full of compassion. He doesn't even want to see, you know, he doesn't want to see an animal being hurt or killed. What to speak of a devotee or a disciple? He was so compassionate.
Again, it was another time that Srila Prabhupada came to Paris, and we were making preparations for Prabhupada's arrival. And we were getting everything ready, and then there was a knock on the door. It was about 3 days before Prabhupada's arrival. There was a knock on the door. Guests would just come and knock, and we'd open the door. There was this, we called them in French clochard, like bum, dirty, disheveled. Probably hadn't bathed in weeks. Hair was all matted by dirt and crust, and, you know, eyes intoxicated. Food. He wasn't very old. He was maybe a young man, 18 or 19. And I said, you know, I'll give him a little prasad, you know. I won't come in. No. You have to bathe or something, you know, you're too dirty. Food. Food. And then they went away. And then I went out for a japa walk later in the afternoon, and I was walking along the Avenue Foch. And that's a big, our center, Quatre Villers-sur, Fort Villers-sur, was in a very nice area of Paris. So I went on Avenue Foch, right into the Champs-Élysées and the Arc de Triomphe, like that. Very nice, prestigious boulevard. I'm walking, and I hear this noise in the bushes, like that. And I looked in the bushes, there was this boy, and he'd made a little place for himself there, you know. I'd heard later from devotees that he'd been there for a few days. He had like some newspapers down the ground. He was sleeping there, making some noises, you know. And the next day I came by, and he kind of popped out of the bushes. Food! I said, come to the temple, we'll give you some prasad. Anyway, other devotees heard about him, and we nicknamed him Pigpen. Charles Schultz had that character, Pigpen, because actually he was like Pigpen, you know, flies and So I forgot about it, then Prabhupada came. And one morning, Prabhupada wanted to take a morning walk on Avenue Foch. So, we were coming down, and suddenly out of the bushes lunged this boy. Devotees had been giving him prasadam and maybe they try to deliver the whole, we preach it, maybe they were preaching to him, telling him some things, and he lunged out of the bushes at Prabhupada to grab Prabhupada's feet. And I don't know who it was, they said, "Get that boy!" And somebody dragged him and threw him back in the bushes or something. We kept walking, oh my God, that was Pigpen. Pigpen almost touched Prabhupada's feet. The walk continued. We went a long way, we came back, went around the lake, and we came back, and everybody was on the morning walk. Just the pujaris were on the altar, addressing the deities. Prabhupada was going to come back for Govindam prayers. So we came back, and I noticed, because, we'd closed the door, because I didn't want anyone to come into the temple, the door was open. Somebody had come in while we were away. He left it open, wide open. We came in the reception with Prabhupada. We came into the temple room, and I was right next to Prabhupada. We walked into the temple room, and there was Pigpen. And he lunged and he grabs Prabhupada's feet. And somebody says, "Get that!" And Prabhupada says, "No." And Prabhupada let him hold his feet. And Prabhupada put his hand on his head. He said, "That's all right, my boy, that's all right. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna." Massaging Pigpen's head. It's all right, it's all right. And you could hear a pin drop. The devotees nobody was moving. They just, whatever position they were in, they're just stunned and they're watching. It's all right, my boy. And then Prabhupada said, "All right, Hare Krishna." And then Pigpen kind of fell back. And then Govindam Hare Purusham Dhamma, like this. And then the temple was crowded, and Pigpen was sitting in the middle of the floor. Like, and then Prabhupada sat down, and nobody would dare move him out of the temple room, because we'd seen how Prabhupada was so affectionate towards him. So Prabhupada sat down, he started giving class and everything, and then the class was over, and then everybody kind of went, and then somebody said, "Well, Pigpen should leave." And some of the devotees said, no, Prabhupada gave him some mercy, let's see. "So Pigpen, you want to stay?" Taking a lot of drugs. So some devotees want to throw him out, so I said, "Okay, take him upstairs and clean him up." They took him upstairs and gave him a shower, and and they put him in a dhoti, kurta, everything. I didn't recognize him when he came downstairs, but he still couldn't speak very good. So he just kind of stayed around, and he just kind of stayed around that day, and then he spent the night, and we can't have him around, he can't do anything, and then Pigpen started doing like cleaning things. So he kind of endeared himself to the devotees, like they started cleaning. And whenever we go to him, we'd say, "Pigpen, how you doing?" "Oh, Prabhupada saved me. Prabhupada saved me." "Okay, Pigpen." "Well, okay, yeah, Prabhupada saved me." So then he kept staying around and started chanting. Okay, Pigpen. And then a couple of weeks later, it was time for me to go on traveling Sankirtan in my van. Went out, packed the van, the doors are open, we're packing the van there. And then some more book came out, and Pigpen was sitting in the passenger seat, the front passenger seat. I said, "Pigpen, what are you doing here?" He said, "Going to Sankirtan." I said, "Pigpen, you're doing a good job cleaning the temple, "Going to Sankirtan." I said, "Pigpen, why?" He said, "Prabhupada saved me." And I went, "Oh, Pigpen." "All right, we'll give you a chance. You come out and you can clean the van." So he said, all right. We had to get his things together, you know, to go upstairs and get his little things together and put them in the van. He was just sitting there. So then we left. Pigpen in the front seat. I was driving, looking over, and oh God, you know, look at this guy. And somehow he'd gotten a book bag, and he put some books in it. So in those days we were doing the parking lots. So we got to the parking lot, and you know we're getting our book, and the first one out of the van was Pigpen. It is Dodie. Thinking, oh my God, what's this guy doing? He's going to get us arrested here, you know. And he runs out, and I said, somebody go get him. What are we going to say? What are we going to do, you know? I said, okay, he'll be back in a minute. He'll get scared out there. So, you know, we'd had a big breakfast, you know. We were like packing our bags and, you know, talking to each other, and then looking, it looks like Pigpen's doing a book over there. Entrance to the shopping market, you know. Hey, Pigpen, look at the book. And his bag was packed. So, you know, we were late. I don't remember what it was. We were kind of tired or something from the night before. Just as we're getting ready to leave the van, about an hour later, Pigpen comes back, no books in his bag. I said, what happened? So, he probably dumped them. And no, we saw him distributing the book. I said, Pigpen, how'd you do that? What did you tell the people? I tell people that Prabhupada saved me. That was his mantra. But he was transformed from whatever he was before. There's that verse Sanatana Goswami says, it's like bell metal can be changed into gold by a chemical process. You know, so someone who has the training and diksha from a pure Vaishnava devotee of the Lord, he can become Brahmana. He can be more than Brahmana. He can be Vaishnava. The transformation was so quick in the heart of Pigpen, it just created so much faith in all of us in the process of Krishna consciousness and Prabhupada's mercy. Prabhupada transformed that boy, just rubbing his head. It's all right, boy. It's all right, my boy. Hare Krishna, all right. What Prabhupada gave that boy during those 20 seconds, you know, who can understand? He reached it, Prabhupada, grabbed his feet, and he was holding on to Prabhupada's feet in the temple room, like this. So then Pigpen became a big book distributor. Speech cleared up, and he started talking nicely, started giving classes, you know, and eventually he took initiation. And his name was Rasada Das. And for many, many years he was with us in France. And then, you know, after some years, you know, the French yatra changed, and I left, and he left, and I haven't seen him since that time. But I did receive some news that years later he was distributing books in America, in New York. This was a good, you know, 20 years ago or something, you know. But all glories to Srila Prabhupada's mercy to transform the Jagai and Madhais of the modern day, the modern era.